going on, everybody? It is Jason, the Metal Dad here. So I was originally going to do a blog post about how to get a good guitar tone at home, but I started thinking about it, and that is like such a huge undertaking. Like to get like a good guitar tone, it takes a lot of experimentation, and there's a lot that goes into it, and it's stuff that could be explained, but it would be a huge blog that would take probably like a month to get all the way through, which I'm not opposed to doing that like eventually. But today I wanted to do something that is geared towards people who are maybe like just now like freshly getting into recording. Like maybe you're like someone who's in a band, maybe you're wanting to do an EP or a single or an album, or maybe you're just someone hanging out by yourself writing music and you're like, okay, I want to like turn this into songs. So you've got your computer, you've got your DAW, you've got your interface, you've got your DI box, and you know, now you're like, okay, so how do I get a guitar tone like now that's not going to cost me a shitload of money, and it's going to get me like, you know, good results, like results that I can, you know, hang out and jam with and record with and have some fun with. So all these plugins that you're seeing here, these are all freeware. They run in VST format. Some of them you may be able to like download in different formats. I don't 100% remember, but I think they're just VST, which most DAWs run VST plugins anyway, so that's fine. What we've got here is this is an impulse response loader, which an impulse response is like a digital capture of the sound of a speaker, a close mic'd speaker, and a microphone in a cabinet. And you know, it basically just gives you what you would get from close micing a guitar amp, like in a plugin. Up here we've got Ignite Amps Emissary, which is also from STL Tones. It's an amp sim. It's a really cool amp sim. It's got a clean channel. It's got a distortion channel. It's got bright switches. It's got this deep switch, which is kind of like a bass boost. It's got this shape, which changes like the high mid emphasis, which is really cool. Got like full EQ. I really like the fact that it has low mids and high mids in the EQ. That's really neat. It's got, you know, master volumes, depth, and presence controls, which are all really cool. Then over here, I've got Tsc808 Core, which is a Tube Screamer style overdrive. Over here, I've got Tsc808, which is another Tube Screamer style overdrive. And down here, there is the Tyrant Screamer TSB1, which is really cool. It's like a modernized take on the Tube Screamer. Like it's got this sweep knob, which changes like the mid emphasis, and I think it has like a little bit of a high pass in there, like cuts out some lows. And it's got this really cool boost feature, which I like, that really smacks the front end of the amp sim and gets you like that gnarly, like modern metal tone. With you may be curious like why I've got the Tube Screamer running in front of the amp, which if you're a guitar nerd like me, you already know. And the reason I've got like 3 different pedals here is because like hardware Tube Screamers all have different sonic characteristics. Like they're all slightly different. And the plugins are no different. They're modeled off of different hardware units, and they sound different. They've all got their own vibe, their own characteristics. So there are 3 here to play with. Everything that you see here will be linked. The only thing that I paid for is the impulse response pack that I'm using. It's from a company called ML Sound Lab. He makes killer impulse responses. He's made a bunch of stuff for Fractal. Like I have a ton of his for my Axe effects that I use, and I've got a couple of the standalone packs that I use, like in NAD-IR here. Like even if I'm tracking with a tube amp, I'm going into my reactive load box and then into my Axe effects for speaker cabinet modeling. So yeah, it's about $30 US, which that's why, you know, I'm calling this $30 guitar tone. Everything will be linked. If you're watching this from YouTube, everything will be linked in the video description. If you're watching this from the page on my site, everything will be linked in the blog. And I think I'm going to dive into some audio examples. At first, I'm going to bypass all these plugins, which they're all turned off right now. And I'm just going to let you hear the raw, boring, you know, unaffected guitar track. Yeah, as you can tell, just a nice, boring, you know, good guitar DI track. I track that through my Countryman Type 85 DI box, which that's why you can see down here, Guitar L85 DI. Highly recommend using a DI box if you're not. I go over that in an earlier blog post, so you should check that out if you're not using a DI box. Highly recommend it. They're great for, like, if you're wanting to have your guitars reamped later, like if you're hiring a mix engineer to do your stuff and make it sound sick. They will probably reamp guitars. So what you're using while you're tracking is not necessarily relevant, even if you decide you want to go down the mix rabbit hole yourself, which it's fun. And it's awesome. Like, I love doing it. You know, I'm not going to like dissuade you from that, like, because I'm a mix engineer. Like, if you want to do that, go for it. But even if you are, you can hire out reamping. Like, if you don't have like some kind of sick guitar setup yourself, reamping is a relatively cheap service, and a lot of mix engineers like offer reamping as a standalone service. So, you know, what you're using now, this will work. It'll be fun to jam with, but, you know, I would probably reamp through like an Axe FX or a tube amp if I were doing a mix here. But I'm going to start going through these plugins. At first, I'm going to turn on just the amp sim, and you're going to notice that it kind of sounds like shit by itself, which that's normal. It's when you throw on the speaker cabinet impulse response that it starts to sound like a real recorded guitar sound. Okay, now that you have like kind of a general idea what that amp sim sounds like, I'm going to start going through these drop pedals. I'm going to start from my least favorite, which is the Tsc808. I do like it, but it's my least favorite. Like I said, you know, a million different tube screamers, million different characteristics. Like, I have tube screamer hardware pedals that I like better than others. You know, it's all just a matter of preference. Like, they're all cool. That's why I included 3, so you can play around and find what you like. Which I'll go through some different settings, which if you crank the drive on these, like, you can really get some kind of like Cannibal Corpse-y, like old school, like death metal sound. You'll see over here on the amp sim, I've got the gain set pretty low, which that's pretty common for, like, you know, extreme metal. You can always bump the gain up if you want. For more proggy stuff, like, keep it down. But yeah, here we go. Tsc808. Okay, it sounds really cool. I mean, it does what a tube screamer is supposed to do. It, like, tightens it up. You know, it adds focus. It adds a little brightness. So it sounds really good. Okay, so here is my second favorite, which is this Tsc808 Core, which you can see here. It's got 2 modes, 808 and mod. I like 808, the regular, better myself, but I'll go through all the settings, like, on 808 and the mod, so you get an idea for what it does. that mod setting on there with the drive cranked is actually really cool. That's a really nice, like, filthy guitar tone. All right, so this is my favorite. It is the Tyrant Screamer TSB1, also from Ignite Amps, just like all three, you know, this drive pedal, the amp sim, and the cab IR loader are all from Ignite Amps, and they are killer. So my favorite thing about this is the boost switch, which I'm going to kick it off at first, and I'll just kind of go through the settings. This sweep knob, it's really neat. It's just a really neat interpretation of the Tube Screamer circuit, like a modern interpretation. Yeah, see that boost, it really like kicks the ass of that amp sim, and it really makes it like slam like super hard, and I really dig it. It almost kind of reminds me of like the other two with the drives like bumped up a little bit. But yeah, it's in my opinion like a really sick sounding overdrive pedal. It's my favorite of the whole bunch. It kind of lets me get closer. I usually use a Horizon Devices precision drive whenever I'm doing reamps, and this kind of gets me the closest to what I'm used to that pedal doing, which is, you know, awesome for the fact that it's a free plugin. It's also worth noting that this NAT IR does come with a few free stock impulse responses. I think there's like 5 in there, and they're okay. They're not bad, but I'd really recommend getting some third-party ones, and I can't recommend the ML Sound Lab stuff enough, just because I think it's great and I use it. So, you know, I would advise that you do the same if you don't have a preference already. But there are a ton of companies that make cool IRs. Just do a Google search, like watch some YouTube videos that go over different IR packs, and find something that vibes with you. Until next time, good luck. If you have any questions, follow me over on Instagram at Metal Dad Audio. Or, you know, hit me up on my Facebook page. You know, shoot me a message if you have any questions about anything. You all take care, and until next time, bye-bye.